These are the legs of Gao Rongrong. She fractured her pelvis, her left leg, and her right heel after jumping out of the second-floor window of a prison police office where she was being detained and tortured. Gao's crime? Refusing to renounce her faith in Falun Gong. Sadly, after her escape, she was incessantly persecuted for 2 years before she was recaptured and tortured again until she died of organ failure on June 16, 2005. Gao is one among many Falun Gong practitioners that have been severely punished by the CCP for refusing to renounce their beliefs. Some are still missing today, and those who managed to escape have recounted horrifying tales of torture. But Falun Gong practitioners not only risk being tortured to death, they could also be victims of organ harvesting. Investigations have documented hospitals promising to deliver live organs or organs extracted from live prisoners of conscience, aka Falun Gong practitioners and Uyghur Muslims, in record time. Some survivors have recounted going under forced blood and medical tests while detained, potentially to look for donor matches. In 2006, a woman who called herself Annie claimed that her ex-husband, a surgeon in China, confessed to her that he removed the corneas of approximately 2,000 Falun Gong prisoners in just 2 years, adding that some were still alive at the time of removal. But what is Falun Gong, and why is China persecuting this spiritual group so viciously? You're watching Explore Mode, and today we're diving into the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners in China. Let's start from the beginning. What exactly is Falun Gong?
Yeah, Falun Gong is a traditional culture and cultivation practice who help people upgrade their mental and physical health.
That's Teresa Chu. She's an international human rights lawyer, and she's been Falun Gong's official spokeswoman and legal representative for 20 years.
Now, by doing 5 sets of exercises and practice the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance.
The practice, also known as Falun Dafa, has roots in Buddhist and Taoist philosophy. It focuses on meditation and exercises where individuals work on their qi, or energy flow, with the purpose of cultivating the mind and body. Falun Gong was founded by Li Hongzhi, a former clerk at a grain and oil procurement company in Changchun, a city in northeast China. He began teaching the practice throughout the country in 1992, and it caught on quickly. See, Chinese people during this time were living in post-culture revolution China. In other words, China was going through a period of economic and cultural liberation, so people felt freer to practice traditional exercises, including Qigong and Tai Chi. In fact, before China branded the spiritual movement as a heretical cult, it was quite supportive of the group. Some party members joined the practice, and in 1995, Li was even invited to give a lecture on Falun Gong in the Chinese embassy in Paris. Just 7 years after its conception, government data shows 70 million people had joined the movement. Falun Gong claims that number is closer to 100 million.
So you can see very short period of time from 1992 to 1999, persecution starts. In the 7 years, there has so huge populations. Chinese practice this very good cultivation belief.
So, if party members were also practicing Falun Gong, what made the CCP suddenly turn against the group? In 1996, state support for the group began to waver. On June 17, 1996, Guangming Daily, a Chinese newspaper, claimed that Falun Gong's main book, the Zhuan Falun, was based on pseudoscience, shortly after the government banned it from public sales. In April 1999, He Zuoxiu, a well-known intellectual, published an article in a college magazine vilifying the movement.
So at that time, he began to degrade and humiliate and libel Falun Gong by writing some articles.
This didn't sit well with Falun Gong practitioners. A group of them went to the publication offices to ask them to retract said article. They were forcefully removed and taken into custody.
So then Falun Gong practitioners, around 10,000 Falun Gong practitioners went to Beijing to ask the government to guarantee their right to practice Falun Gong, give them a peaceful environment to practice their belief.
And surprisingly, it worked. Then CCP Premier Zhu Rongji met with the protesters and agreed to release the practitioners that were under police custody. But then CCP General Secretary and State President Jiang Zemin feared the group was expanding too quickly and saw them as a threat to the regime. So in June 1999, he officially ordered the disintegration of the group. In order to eliminate Falun Gong, Jiang created the 610 office.
The 610 office is taking charge of planning and implementing the nationwide political campaign against Falun Gong. So this national campaign in total was implemented and planned by 610 office under Jiang Zemin's leadership. The Jiang Zemin established this mechanism basically, just like the German Gestapo. They use this mechanism to centralize every campaign against Falun Gong from central to the local.
The 610 office was in charge of capturing Falun Gong practitioners and sending them to so-called re-education centers, where they were forced to renounce their faith. Those who were coerced into renouncing were then forced to convert practitioners, and those who refused were often tortured to death.
CCP asked them to sign a statement to confess their belief is wrong. They apologize. They think they are guilty of believing Falun Dafa, and they will never ever continue practice Falun Gong. Some of them can leave the country after they converting the other practitioners to satisfy CCP's requirements. So they came out from China. They told us this sad story.
Some survivors have described being beaten with electrical batons, bamboo boards, and belts. The 610 office has also been accused of carrying out extrajudicial killings, sexual assault, and illegal confiscation of property, but it's unlikely they will face consequences for their actions. They have complete and utter control over several branches of the government. A report by China Tribunal, an independent tribunal into forced organ harvesting from prisoners of conscience in China, sums it up quite well. The Political and Legal Affairs Committee and 610 office have the power to control personnel and resources in the police, Ministry of State Security, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the fields of finance, culture, education, science and technology, and health departments throughout the country. The regime mobilized the entire state apparatus in the campaign against Falun Gong, but it doesn't stop there.
So the persecution is not only eradicate people who practice Falun Gong, and also, take their organs, forcibly take their organs for profits. So, it's unprecedented evil persecution.
China's organ transplant trade makes $1 billion a year. Chinese hospitals perform around 60,000 to 100,000 transplants annually. Livers and kidneys arrive at hospitals ready for transplant in just a few days, a process that usually takes months or even years in other countries. So where do all these organs come from? In 2005, China admitted to harvesting organs from death row inmates, a practice it vowed to stop in 2015. Since then, China claims all transplant organs come from a large network of voluntary donors, but that claim has been refuted. On June 17th, the China Tribunal released another report where it confirmed that the CCP continues to harvest organs from prisoners of conscience, mainly from Falun Gong practitioners and Muslim Uyghurs, some of whom were reportedly still alive at the time of extraction. Data from the Chinese Ministry of Health show liver and kidney transplants began to rise in 1999, the same year the Falun Gong persecution started. In 2006, a human rights group conducted an investigation where they called several hospitals in China, posing as patients in need of urgent organ transplants. The recordings are chilling.
是中国医科大学宋主任吗？
您说吧。
然后他那个医生跟他讲，就是说这个肾源挺好的，就是说那个他练功人家练什么功？练法轮功，就是练法轮功身体都比较好嘛，练功这想。你要给他这么一个。
这种情况，我们也有这种所谓的叫不是有呼吸或者有心跳的一些东西，我们也会有。这个我们可能大概有，今年到目前为止，可能这样的有10几个这样的肾脏。
Joined by a group of human rights lawyers, Teresa brought the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners to the UN's attention. The reaction is disappointing but unsurprising.
They just listen, they didn't have any action. And then they say these things, such things are too big, too large. They didn't deny our evidence and didn't deny the allegation. They just didn't take any action.
So, what does China have to say about all this? Have there been any changes?
No, there's not a change at all. The persecution policy still continues. In military or world nationwide, they still arrest Falun Gong practitioners from time to time, especially on a sensitive day. For example, they have a big international events in China. They fear Falun Gong practitioners go to protest or going out to clarify the truth to the foreigners or to international guests. So during some called big days, they are especially massively arrest Falun Gong practitioners.
Thanks for watching Explore Mode. If you want to read more about this topic, all links to our sources are in the description box below. If you liked this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, and if you want to explore even more with us, click the subscribe and bell button so you get a notification whenever we dive into another topic. See you next week, and in the meantime, remember to keep your Explore mode on.